is Venezuela. Venezuela is the producer or the second largest oil producer. They found a large number of oil, or quite a large amount of oil in Venezuela. You got Exxon there, you got Chevron there. Everyone wants to take over. Venezuela has a lot of deals with China. This is obviously a problem for the United States of America. Now, if you look at it from the US's perspective, I understand why South America is a problem. It's on the borders of America. And just imagine this. In Russia and Ukraine, Russia see Ukraine as a problem in the sense of if Ukraine ever joined NATO, it would be a problem because you would basically have NATO on the border of Ukraine, of Russia, and that would be a national security threat. The same case is for South America. If you have China in control of South America or certain countries in South America in the future, this could be a national security threat. And when you've got countries like Brazil, like Venezuela, that are very close to China, have trade relations with China. China is now building infrastructure in those countries. This becomes a national security threat now and in the future for America. So I understand the reason for why Venezuela is considered a threat. I just disagree with the actions in terms of what's happening. This is directly targeting people on the shores, on boats, without any evidence. No evidence whatsoever. No evidence is being provided about why these boats are being targeted. No evidence is being provided that they have fentanyl. We know fentanyl isn't produced in Venezuela. In fact, it's produced in Mexico, a country which is in good relations with the United States of America. Despite that being the case, you're just being told by the President of the United States that these people have fentanyl, and that's the reason they're just bombing these boats. That's not acceptable. You cannot murder people without evidence. You can't murder people without providing evidence. And it just shows this genocidal, maniacal nature of this regime, that they feel like they can murder anyone and everyone will agree with it. And actually, everyone hasn't agreed to it because 76% of Americans say Trump is not justified and has not provided justifiable evidence in terms of bombing the boats. So quite clearly, the Americans are dubious about these claims about fentanyl because fentanyl isn't produced in Venezuela. It's produced in other countries, clearly not Venezuela. And so why is this hit headlines now? Obviously, we disagree with his actions irrespective of this, but the reason is that reports have come out that Hegseth ordered a double tap strike. What does that mean? That means you bomb a boat, the boat is blown up, people are killed, and maybe there's one or two people left who have not died, who are holding on for dear life. Then allegedly Hegseth orders a second strike. The second strike targets these last two individuals and he murders them. And in the second strike that he orders, he says, quote, kill everybody. And so the people underneath him carry out that strike and they kill every single person. That in itself is a war crime. Killing people on international waters who aren't an imminent and immediate danger to you is an international war crime in order to murder them. And this is what the Caroline Leavitt said, who is the press secretary for the White House, when she was asked the question about this strike. Let me play this for you.
Admiral
Oops, sorry.
Bradley order that second strike because there were still survivors after the initial strike?
Again, as I read for you, Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco-terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
So was the initial order from Secretary Hegseth, everyone be killed, and did that come from President Trump?
I saw that quoted in a Washington Post story. I would reject that the Secretary of War ever said that. However, the President has made it quite clear that if narco-terrorists, again, are trafficking illegal drugs towards the United States, he has the authority to kill them. And that's what this administration is doing.
So she denies that Hegseth made that statement. She agrees there was a double tap, but they denying that Hegseth made that statement. Now she's laying the blame not on Hegseth, but instead she's laying the blame on Admiral Frank Bradley. So the question mark becomes like, what are the consequences going to be for him? What was the reason why he ordered that strike and how he did it? This is an image of the boats that they've struck. They've hit dozens of boats, killing more than 80 people. None of those people have been given a trial. No evidence has been provided that this fentanyl. People claim this fentanyl. Where's the evidence? We just don't know. We've not provided it. President Trump was asked about this. President Trump was asked about the strike, about what had happened. This is what he had to say.
Say that, and I believe him. You don't know if there was a second, the two men? The second strike. He said he didn't do it. He said he never said it.
Would you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision.
Now, the claim that the Immigration and Nationality Act, the INA, the Trump, which claims that the Trump administration utilizes sections of this foundational U.S. immigration document, particularly Section 212, which grants the president authority to suspend the entry of certain aliens, doesn't fall into this category because those people weren't attempting to go into the United States of America. Actually, the boats didn't have the ability to go to the United States of America. Many people claim that they were actually going elsewhere, possibly to Mexico, possibly to the Caribbean, but they didn't have the ability or the capability to go to the US, and therefore there is no evidence that they were going to the United States of America. And quite clearly, this is an illegal act, an act that defies international law. Now, I understand that people are saying there's no such thing as international law. I agree with that. Quite clearly, what we've learned is that there's no such thing as international law, because we saw in front of our eyes for 2 years a genocide happening. That South Africa took this claim to the ICJ. Nothing happened. So I understand that there is no such thing as international law, and people don't follow it. That being said, we have our own understanding of what the international law should have been. And what it should be is this, and if it was followed, this clearly is a breach of it. Trump saying that the boats have fentanyl in them is irrelevant. We need to see that there's evidence. I can say anything. I can claim anything. The reality is, what is the evidence? And there clearly isn't and hasn't been any evidence provided. And I really believe that the reason the evidence hasn't been provided is because it doesn't exist. Quite clearly, Caroline Levitt feels uneasy about this, because when she was asked, look at her reaction, look at her bodily physical reaction to this. Look at this, look at her reaction. She's not even wearing her cross on, because generally speaking, she's someone who previously has not worn the cross when she believes that what she's doing is wrong or she's lying. So this is another instance where she's not wearing her cross on. Previously, if you remember, she did it when they lied about some other incident. I can't remember from the top of my mind what it was.
Reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike, and what imminent threat would two survivors pose
Imminent
who were
threat.
clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists, to the United States, was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for the
Why won't the administration either confirm?
So that was Caroline Levitt. You can see she's looking uneasy. She's feeling uneasy about what happened. Now, look, you commit this crime, and let's just give it that. Let's say they're in the right. Let's say there was no crime. Let's say these people were basically, they had fentanyl on the boat. They were trying to take it to the United States of America. let's say they had to kill these people, even though I disagree with it. You have to be genocidal, maniacal, have sociopathic, psychopathic. You have to have all of these traits that are not found in a normal human being to basically laud the fact that you conducted this. Here is Pete Hegseth posting a tweet on X with Franklin. It's an anime, Franklin. It's called Franklin the Turtle, and he's targeting narco terrorists, as it says. And you can see him shooting, and he says, "For your Christmas wish list." Now, why I find this horrific is you've murdered people. Even if they are bad guys, you've killed 80 people. 80 people's lives have been taken away. Even if the people who you'd killed are bad guys, let's say they're evil, whatever it may be, you still murdered them. Humanity says that you should still not be lauding the fact that you did this, lauding or being happy about the fact that you conducted this murder. And yet this guy is cheering it on. This guy is making a mockery of it. He's making a meme out of it. Completely unacceptable. And it demonstrates the sociopathic, psychopathic nature of Pete Hegseth. Completely unacceptable. And it kind of shows, and I would be concerned if this guy was, he's the head of, he's the Department of War, the Secretary of War. I would be massively concerned if he held such a position in terms of that. Now, what's interesting about this is, and it shows the hypocritical nature of the US government, is Trump recently pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was convicted 45 years of drug trafficking. So clearly being a drug trafficker isn't a problem if you have good relations with the United States of America. And therefore, it's the drugs are not the problem. They have a huge amount of drugs coming into Mexico. Trump has pardoned the Honduran president. So drugs coming into the United States of America isn't clearly a problem. The issue is whether you're in good stead with the United States of America or you are not. And that's the main reason why. And so it's really a geopolitical reason. And I've said, I understand the geopolitical reason why they want Venezuela on board. But the method you do that would be the Chinese method. It's through negotiation. It's through contracts. It's through deals. Not through the American model, which is bomb, destroy, color revolutions, and take over regions. That method no longer works. You have another option, which is China. And so I agree that US should bring Venezuela into the fold under the US umbrella. I disagree with their actions in terms of becoming so aggressive in the manner that they're doing it in. And that's where we basically split in our positions. And that's why I see the actions of the US president being highly problematic. Trump has been, and things with Maduro have escalated. And what is the real reason they want to get into Venezuela? Well, there's a few reasons. First one is, as I mentioned, they want to stop Chinese control. They're concerned about China building infrastructure into Venezuela. But it's not just that. Oil is another reason. The US has, Venezuela has found a lot of oil, as I said in the start. In Venezuela, it's the second largest country in terms of oil. This is what the vice president of Venezuela had to say in regards to US intervention into their country and the real motive behind why the US is acting in the manner that they're acting.
Países OPEP, países no OPEP, OPEP Plus. Venezuela denuncia formalmente ante esta que además.
Okay, she's speaking in Venezuelan, but what she says is the US intends to seize the vast oil reserves of our country, the largest in the world, through the use of military force. Venezuela will remain firm in the defense of its natural energy resources. Nothing will stop us. So quite clearly, this is what they want. And Trump he didn't hide the fact that this was the real reason why they were going into Venezuela. I mean, this is Trump speaking previously about why they wanted the Venezuelan oil for free. Here is Trump.
Buying oil from Venezuela. When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door. But now we're buying oil from Venezuela, so we're making a dictator very rich. Can you believe this? Nobody can believe it. You know where the oil, their oil is garbage. It's horrible. The worst you can get. Tar. It's like tar. And to refine it, you need special plants. And these people, how about...
So that's Trump talking about how they were getting oil from Venezuela for free. And now they're having to pay for it. Trump was asked about his conversation with Maduro. Apparently, they got on the phone yesterday. Hopefully, they can come to some kind of resolution. We don't want them to go to war with Venezuela. We don't want them to have a color revolution in Venezuela. Trump was asked about his phone call with Maduro. This is what he had to say.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't do that.
What did you say? Did you say it went well?
I would say it went well or badly.
That's him speaking about his conversation with Maduro. He said, I wouldn't say it went well and I wouldn't say it went badly. It went okay. So which means they had a conversation. Clearly, they didn't come to an agreement. Clearly, there was some form of disagreement or possible agreement about what happened, but they haven't come to a resolution. And the resolution is that they want China to cede the control that they've got in Venezuela, the infrastructure impact that they're having in Venezuela, and they want to take over it. This is the problem they have with Venezuela. This is an issue they have with Brazil. They want to bring these South American, Latin American countries under the fold, under the control of the United States of America. They already control El Salvador, Argentina, and a few other countries. The problem is specifically with, or generally is with Brazil and Venezuela, because they are larger, impactful countries in that region. This is Trump being asked about the aggressive action into Venezuela. As you know, they've deployed 15,000 troops, a large number of warships, ready to go into Venezuela, invade Venezuela. This is what Trump had to say.
Can you tell us more about why the airspace above Venezuela should be considered closed?
Because we consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country. They send millions of people, really, and probably a number in excess of that. And a lot of those people shouldn't be in our country, from jails, from gangs, from drug dealers, from all of the people that came into our country shouldn't have been in our country, causing a lot of problems. And drugs.
Does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything into it.
President of Venezuela, can you tell
So he says, don't read into the airstrikes being imminent. What we do know is it's a problem. This is Maduro's reaction to this imminent invasion into his country, into Venezuela. Maduro demonstrates what his concern. He doesn't seem concerned at all. He's not concerned at all about this upcoming invasion into Venezuela. So we've basically got the US. They've got troops ready for the invasion into Venezuela. They have 15,000 troops deployed. You have the president of the United States who was asked about the invasion into Venezuela. He says, I don't want to comment on that. The answer is yes, in terms of the conversation that they had on the telephone call. But I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call, which seems to suggest that it wasn't an extremely positive meeting. When you put all of these things together, what you realize is things are imminent when it comes to Venezuela. They've got troops ready. If Maduro doesn't step down, if they're not able to cause a color revolution through Maria Mercado, who is an Israeli CIA asset, someone who asked Netanyahu to invade into Venezuela, someone who was given the Nobel Peace Prize. Obviously, we know whenever these people give an award or a peace prize to their people, it's in a way to avow them. It's in a way to say that, look, we're going to do what you want. And in this scenario, it is to invade Venezuela. And so massively, and we are massively concerned about what's happening in Venezuela. Seems like war is on the horizon unless Maduro step down, unless Maduro there's a color revolution, or unless there's extreme change of policy from the Venezuela perspective. But how can they do it? They're deeply entrenched with China now. China's already started building infrastructure in Venezuela. I just can't see how this is going to happen in a positive manner. In terms of the boats, Americans can continue to murder people. We know, for example, the president of Colombia, who also isn't positive in terms of the United States of America, another place they want to cause a color revolution. Petros said that one of the people they killed was just a fisherman. He was a fisherman. He had family. This got Trump angry, and Trump said, I'm going to place sanctions on you. So he doesn't want people to speak the truth about what's happened. We have reports from the Colombian president who says that actually some of these people who are being murdered are innocent individuals, one of whom is a fisherman. There's been no trial. No evidence has been provided. We're basically in a situation where you have to just trust the president of the United States of America in terms of what happened. And that's not a place you want to be. That's not a place you want to be in terms of having this trust for Trump when he supported the genocide in Gaza, where he's not releasing the Epstein files. There's many question marks about whether this individual is controlled or not, whether the military industrial complex are forcing him to go to war with Venezuela.